Welcome to Basement MTG with me, a nerd in his basement. In this video, I'll be testing my mono green deck, or as I call it, the OG green, against a self-playing deck called Defeat a God. This deck, you start out with Xenagos, the god, out on the field. I'll put him here so that we can see him. And you start out with two cards from the deck on the field as well. Rollicking Throng is a 1/3. This deck, if you've seen the other video with the Battle of the Horde, this deck works differently than that one. It has its own rules, which we'll go over as we start and play. If you notice, I decided to sleeve this deck. The Battle of the Horde deck's a little bit older and it's starting to get a little grungy, so you know what? I thought maybe I'd save this one a little bit. The deck shuffled up here. Nothing says big green creatures like some bright pink sleeves. Now this one I do believe when you start, it starts right after, but as it is just a way to test my deck, I'm not actually trying to necessarily beat this deck. I kind of do it like I do with the Horde, where I take 3 turns and kind of get started up a bit. I think in the ruling of this deck it says if you want it to be a little less forward and right off the bat, you can, instead of drawing 2 cards per turn, you can do 1 card per turn. You can really just do anything you want when you're doing these. It's all just to test the deck. Looks like I've started out with some forests here. Not many low plays, but we'll see if I can't draw something. So, forest, turn 2. Another land, turn 3. Land, land, land. And, well, I will play an enchantment, Elemental Bond. Creature comes in that's power 3 or greater, draw a card. So now the God deck will start. Is a sorcery and a creature. The sorcery is return a couple cards that are from this deck from your graveyard to the battlefield. There's nothing in the graveyard yet. But it also says at the beginning of combat, this will deal damage to each player equal to the number of revelers on the battlefield. Now, Xenagos is a god, but the other creatures are all revelers. So there's 3. That means I will have to take 3. The one that came out is a 4/2. It only attacks if there's 5 or more revelers on the battlefield. There are also cards in the deck that will say all revelers attack this turn, things like that. So that is going to be coming up. Another forest, and sadly enough, wow, nothing to play on turn 4. The only card I have that's 4 mana is Destroy All Creatures with Flying, and none of these revelers have flying, so that's going to be good. In a game against my friends, we usually play, again, casual games. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I just build casual decks, and we always play multiplayer games. Usually, typically, including me, would be like 5 to 7 people playing a multiplayer game, so you never know what's going to come at you. So this deck isn't necessarily a way that tells me how well it'll do in such a game like that, but you can kind of figure it out on your own and say, oh, well, these plays were pretty good, and I think against other people they might do all right. So destroying all creatures with flying would probably be good in such a game. Now it's the god's turn again. We'll do 2 cards, a 3/1 first strike, and a sorcery. At the beginning of combat, all revelers gain haste and attack this turn of Fable. I am going to be getting beat up already right off the bat. So that's a 4, a 3, and 2 1/3s, so you're taking 9 damage. Even if this deck ends up killing me out, if I haven't felt that the deck has really been played much, I might still take a few more turns, see what's going on, make sure this deck is where I want it. All just a way to see if I want to take things out of the deck, take the deck apart altogether, so on and so forth. Well, this is something. card I drew is an 8 mana card. Nice to have late game, but I have not drawn any of my early game plays. So it's not looking good. The only card I have the mana to play is something that would be useless, drawing a card for each creature I control, which is 0. Alright. Now when you actually draw a Rollicking Tongue, this is the card that comes out starting in play. This one has an ability that when it comes in, you draw an additional card. So as that enters, I'll still do another card, that sorcery, and another one, which is a 4/4. I think the only card that actually comes out attacking in this deck is a 2/2 called Ecstatic Piper, which this card is talking about. So that first card we drew that said return 2 Ecstatic Pipers from the graveyard, and at the beginning of combat it'll deal damage equal to Revelers. Well, there's none of those in the graveyard, so I'll be just taking 6 damage from the Revelers. And wow, I'm still alive at 2. Another forest. Now that I can actually play things, well, wonderfully enough, the only thing I can play will kill me this turn. And I'll do it. 6 mana. Cloud Thresher. Has flash, reach, 7/7 for 6 mana. Not too shabby, but when it comes into play, 2 damage to each creature with flying. And each player, which would include me. But as I said, you know what, we're just going to pretend like I'm still alive to play out just a little bit longer here. I will draw a card for the 3 power coming in. It's not to say that this deck works this way all the time, but this is kind of why you test them. If it works this way too often, well, then it might need to be re-looked at. 2 cards. There's that Ecstatic Piper that attacks right away. And another 4/4. Now, unlike the Horde deck, when you attack the deck, and that's its life. It goes into the graveyard. This deck, you actually attack the Revelers straight on. And once there's no Revelers, you're allowed to attack Xenagos straight on. And if you can do enough damage to him, then you can win the game once he leaves the battlefield. But he cannot leave unless there are no Revelers. So a 2/2 will be attacking me. And I'll block it with a 7/7. And when an Ecstatic Piper dies, you gain 2 life. And I'm going to do that up to 4, even though I'm technically dead from last turn. But again, I'll keep rolling to see if we can't get going here a little bit. Another forest. Plenty of lands in this game. I'm going to play out the Hornet Queen. That'll get me some creatures. It's a 2/2 flying Death Touch. And when it enters, get 4/1/1 insects with flying and Death Touch. And what better to use than this nice little Thopter token. That will be the Death Touch insect creature tokens. Now, if I had more things out from the start, I might be trying to attack some Revelers, but I don't know. I think I might play a little defensively, but this one is supposed to actually attack each turn. That should have attacked me last turn. So we'll redo that. Keep the Ecstatic Piper out. Have this one been blocked by the Cloud Threshers. That's all I had out. That one gains you 3 life up to 5, but the Ecstatic Piper would have dealt 2 to 3. So we'll just make that correction now. And we'll have this deck go. This is a 2/4 Death Touch. And Xenagos Strike. It'll deal 4 damage to each player. Well, guess what? I'm dead again. But for the sake of things, we're just going to keep rolling just a little bit longer. Now, this is probably one of my favorite cards in this deck. Don't have enough mana to use it right now. So, we're going to go with do a little draw card action and gain a little bit of life with the Shamanic Revelation. Draw a card for each creature you control. You control any creatures with power 4 or greater. You can gain 4 life for each of those, which I only have 1, so I'll gain 4 to 7. Again, as we know, I am most certainly dead. But, oh well. Draw 6 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Play to land this turn. And I don't have any 3-mana plays. Can end the turn and discard down to 7. Two cards off the top, another Roll-Licking Throng, so that'll be another 2 cards still. Ecstatic Piper again, and Ecstatic Piper. Now, considering I've already died a few times in this deck, I'm not doing the best. Sometimes though, when in the opposite, when I am doing overly well, I'll have certain things attack, even when it says they're not supposed to attack, just to keep things rolling, keeps a little pressure on, see what can be done. But I'm going to do the bare minimum this time of what the deck will do, so I'll just attack with the ones that came out. That's 2 2/2s coming at me. I'll block them both, one with Cloud Thresher and one with a 1/1 Death Touch. When those die, I'll gain 2 life per, or each one of them, go up to 11. Give myself a little room here to not die a 3rd time. Tranquil Thicket. Well, typically this late in the game, this would be something I'd cycle for a card, but since I just drew all those cards, filled my hand, and I want 10 mana for this card, Primal Surge, I'm going to play it tapped. I'm going to play one of my favorite Planeswalkers in this deck, Nissa Worldwaker. Put her up close here. If you ever want to pause the video, see the abilities. I'm going to do her +1 to untap 4 forests. 1, 2, 3, 4. Give me a little more mana to work with. And, well, why not? Let's just go ahead and do the Galta. Nope, just kidding. Galta's 8, not 7. Well, that can be next turn. We'll do, instead, Nylea, God of the Hunt. It's a god that would be an enchantment unless your devotion to green is at least 5, which it is. If you don't know, devotion is the green mana symbol, which I have plenty of those. Cloud Thresher and her cover it, just the 2 of them. And it's a creature 3 or greater, so I'll draw a card. I will also play Endless Atlas, another great card for drawing in a deck like this. If you control 3 or more lands of the same name, you can tap 2, tap this, draw a card. At the beginning of combat, all revelers gain haste and attack. And that's the same one. So they're all gaining haste and attacking now. We'll make sure to get the 4/4 with the Cloud Thresher. Another 4/4 with Nylea. It's a 6/6 indestructible. I'll do this 2/4 Death Touch with one of my 1/1 Death Touches. One of the Roll-Licking Throngs. The Hornet Queen is a 1/3. And we'll take the rest, so 1 insect dies. These will all be killed off also. Now I get hero rewards for some of these, like drawing cards and things, but since I've already essentially cheated and staved off death that I should have had, I'm just going to not do that. So all of these will actually still be hitting me. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Put me down to 3. Now I'm pretty much at a point where I have now won the game, even though I've already lost. So there's not too much reason to play out this much longer. But just for fun, we'll tap 4, +1, untap them, tap 4, 5, 6. Play that card I was talking about, Primal Surge. I love actually playing this card in a normal game, especially in a green deck. You could get unlucky and get one of the non-permanents. That definitely happens, but It exiles the top card of my library. If it's a permanent, I may put it on the battlefield if I do repeat the process. So, Garrick Wildspeaker, permanent. I won't go over everything, but as you can see, we'll just play it out just so you can see what could happen. Permanent, a land permanent, which is a hideaway. Look at the top 4. Put a card with it. It can be played later if you have a total power of 10 or greater. You can tap a forest and tap it, or a green mana, and play it for free technically, which I would have. But these ones all get put on the bottom of the library. The rest of them. Permanent, and this is a sorcery. So this was actually still awesome play to get a couple lands in, a couple creatures, and a planeswalker. But there's definitely been games where you just keep on rolling and rolling out the permanents. Though this sorcery is fun for a green deck. But anyway, that is the OG green deck against Defeat a God. If there would have been a little more early mana plays, might not have died 3 times this game and kept going, but that's the way it works. I still think this deck works pretty well. You just get those unlucky draws every time. Sometimes you have too much land, sometimes not enough. You know how it goes. But if you liked this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. Check out the other video against the Horde, or the other video which displays out what is in this deck. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.